There's something very special about Central Australia, and I think most people feel that when they come here. I came here originally because the landscape just was so incredibly inspiring, so powerful and compelling. I really fell in love with this landscape. I came from the sea. People thought I was mad coming to live in Alice Springs. But where I lived on the coast had majestic cliffs and big horizons too. So in some respects, there's a similar kind of resonance, but this feels much wilder and much deeper and more ancient. The art that I love to do most are things where I'm really connected to where I am. I'm enjoyed doing the work that I've just done now because I lay down almost on the rocks to do it. And that feels really fantastic to me, to feel that I'm actually connected with what I'm working with rather than standing back and viewing it. There are limitations to how you can work out here because it's so incredibly dry. So some mediums that you might use in a more humid environment aren't that appropriate here. So a lot of the time I work in ink because it's so liquid and doesn't dry up. And I love the combination of oil pastel and ink, which is a resist technique because of the textural qualities of it. And this is a place for me full of texture. The activity of drawing in this environment, au plein air, is to be drawn in. And I love to be drawn into the landscape. I sometimes wonder whether it's possible to inherit a love of a place. But my mother loved the outback, not necessarily Central Australia. But she told me stories from her childhood, and perhaps it wasn't so much inheriting it through the blood, but just through the inspiration of her stories, and it became something that I had to follow up myself. Growing up in the 50s, we had a huge Laminex table, kind of pale yellow sort of colour with a slight sort of check in it. And we had endless cups of teas and meals around the table, and in the middle of the table was always a jar of pencils, and we could always draw on the table. And sometimes she'd clean around the drawings, and every now and then the drawings would get erased. Yeah, so that's what I mean, every opportunity, there was always a pencil handy. I suppose one hopes to feel satisfaction. One doesn't always. Sometimes it's quite hard and you feel quite dissatisfied with what is happening. But it's almost like I can't not do it. I'm just compelled to, and I always have been compelled to. Somewhere, I suppose, in the back of one's mind is some unknown muse or critic or congratulator or whatever it is, and I think it's very hard for anyone to escape that. And sometimes I guess you just get so immersed that you definitely forget about that. And I think the hardest thing is to know that, you know, you have your own way of expressing it, and not to, you know, to see that and appreciate other people's work, but not to let it make you feel despondent. Love every little mark you make.